Hi, welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, Bot Brack for short. I'm Edward Box, and a bit of celluloid today, so I'm going to be looking at my top 10 favourite sports films, or sport-related films. So let's just talk about some that didn't make the cut. I'm picking fiction, here, even though they're based on true stories. There's some great sporting documentaries, and three that stand out are When We Were Kings, Senna, and One Day in September. Now, strictly One Day in September is more about the terrorist attack, but it has got a sport background because the terrorist attack happened at the Munich Olympics in 1972. I actually recently went to the Olympic Park there, and it's still quite a modern architecture, quite amazing construction. It's directed by Kevin McDonald. If you've not seen that, check it out. It's got narration by Michael Douglas. It's a superb piece. Then Senna, again, brilliant use of just found footage in that. And using Senna's real voiceover to create a sort of picture of a really complex man. And I think what I love about that film is I don't think the director's kind of arrived at his ending so much. I think he's kind of found a thing for his research that he wants to end on that says a lot about the character, and everything is kind of put together to build to the argument, really, because a documentary in a sense is an argument, isn't it? If you've not seen Senna, at the end when he asks him who's his favourite person to race against, and it's not what you'd expect. It's amazing, but really what it puts across is that for him it was just all about the racing and all the politics and being a successful Formula 1 driver and things like that. Kind of took away the fun of that, and I think that's true if people go into something that's their dream of it being a profession. Then is When We Were Kings, the brilliant Muhammad Ali Rumble in the Jungle documentary. I think probably the best sporting documentary ever made, actually, I would argue. I know there's other ones, but I just think the way it captures the sort of political, social, cultural impact of Ali at that time, and the talking heads are brilliant, and just the craziness of the whole, having this big boxing match in Zaire and so on. Love that. I always recommend it to people. If you've not seen it, different thing. I mean, he's a sports star, but the 3-part, 8-hour O.J. Simpson documentary, just watch that. I think he won the Oscar. I can't remember for certain, but I watched it on the iPlayer on BBC. Absolutely incredible. Because there's quite a lot more to O.J. Simpson and the symbolic nature of his, success as a sportsman and how he represented the African American community. Robert Redford's good sports film guy, The Natural, which is a baseball film. Barry Levinson, brilliant cinematography by Caleb Deschanel. He kind of comes out of retirement. He's called Roy Hobbs, I think, and then he's got this special baseball bat, and it's kind of Arthurian. It's kind of a mythical thing, but perhaps more than any film, it captures the kind of power of a sports star to kind of lift. We invest so much in our sports stars, and I think The Natural, he's almost supernatural, hence the title. And he's in Downhill Races as well, which is a good skiing one, 1969. Kind of gets forgotten about, but really good skiing footage, quite a nice docu feel to it. Michael Ritchie directs at a time before he did the Fletch films and was making quite interesting stuff in the early 70s, late 60s. Gene Hackman's very good as the coach. So that's worth seeing. Then you got your boxing films. You're probably surprised this isn't in. It's Raging Bull. Raging Bull's an incredible film. I just don't enjoy it. I just think, De Niro's acting's amazing. Joe Pesci's acting's amazing. The lady playing his wife, forgive me, I've just forgotten the name of the actress. The direction's amazing, the photography's amazing, but they're just fucking, apart from the wife, who I think's very badly treated, obviously, they're just not nice people. It's just a hard watch. It's a film that's easy to admire. It's one of the easiest films to admire, but it's not something I want to watch for enjoyment. $1 Million Baby, really good, saw that at the time. Again, yeah, the boxing's kind of a sideline really on that. It's really, although it should be about her, the accusations made about it, it's about Clint's tarnished masculinity and his guilt and everything. I think that's true. Then you've got The Fighter, which is a very funny movie with some great acting. I think the problem with that is the showy performances got recognised, which is Christian Bale and the actress who swore at the Oscars, and I've forgotten her name again. Sorry, I should have the things up here. But she said fuck in her acceptance speech. But anyway, they're brilliant, but they're very showy performances, and the best performance is actually Mark Wahlberg. It was easily Mark Wahlberg's best performance. Not an actor I totally warm to. But very funny film. Again, yeah, it's about him getting back in the ring, but it's more about the family dynamics. He's using the sport aspect of it to explore other things. Another good couple of good ones. A Champion with Kirk Douglas, obviously good boxing film, and the setup with Robert Ryan, Robert Wise film, which is a film noir. He takes the dive, or he's going to take the dive, or doesn't, from the mafia, which is a classic kind of boxing movie trope. It's used in On the Waterfront. That's a boxing movie. So that's again using the boxing to create a thriller. So slightly different thing, not strictly the setting is sport, but not strictly obsessed with the sport. And then a few others, Chariots of Fire, obviously really, really great soundtrack, great running scenes, interesting historical, sort of British period piece, very much catching the kind of heritage cinema at the time that was going to be popular from the Brits in the 80s. Interesting how it explores the anti-Semitism that the Harold Abrahams character experiences. I think he won't run on Sunday, or is it the Ian Charleston character then doesn't run because the Olympic finals on the Sunday? I can't remember. I've only seen it once, but really good film. We Are Marshall's an interesting one if you've not seen that. Directed by McGee, he's a terrible director, but as a tragedy, the football team crash. People die, and then the guy, it's Matthew Fox, has to rebuild the team. The town has to heal, and they take a bunch of players who the kind of second, third choices, because obviously the proper original teams died, and it's quite emotional. I suppose it's kind of like the true story, and kind of like the Man U air crash, that killed, took the lives of all those very special players. King Richard, which I saw recently, again, that's a good sporting movie about the Williams sisters, in particular Richard Williams. Such a shame what's happened. It's been overshadowed by what Will Smith did at the Oscars, but it's a good film, really about them break his belief in his kids, his belief in himself, doing the best for his family, but also breaking into those country clubs, getting through the glass ceiling and getting his kids taken seriously. And there's no references in that film to kind of the racism or anything like that, but you can see that people think, oh, how can these kids possibly be good? But it's good, very good film. Seabiscuit as well, that's another good one, kind of the underdog story. That's, a good underdog one, good performance by Tobey Maguire. Nice climax on that film as well. You think, it's going to be really hard, and Seabiscuit it's going to be the last minute, but he just literally fucking takes off fairly early on in the race, and it's all about how they've built and healed to that point, and the race is almost not it's the easy part of what they've been through. Okay, so that's kind of like my take on a few of the sporting films. Let's go with top 10. So number 10, this is interesting film. This is about the money, the management of sport, and I think it's one of the best sport films in recent times. It's directed by Bennett Miller, who also made Foxcatcher, which is another really good film, but again, not really about sports. Fucking disturbing. Truth is stranger than fiction. But he's very good with actors. The performances in Foxcatcher by the three principal leads are very good. Same with Moneyball, both Brad Pitt in his best ever performance and Jonah Hill got Oscar nominations. Moneyball's about football manager who uses Moneyball theory, is what they call it. They look at the kind of stats, the real stats of players, and they pick players who kind of perform more consistently than you'd think. The baseball, and they use that, and they're paying lower money. They're not paying the big fees because these players aren't showy. They're not getting. What's the word I'm looking for? There's kind of big numbers that are shouted about, but there's a consistency to the playing. And then his theory is if he picks the right player and picks the right jigsaw, a good price, he'll get his team, and he does. And I think this is the Red Sox. I don't know much about baseball, and he actually won with this. The guy who bought the Red Sox actually applied this theory. Not the same guy, Billy, forget his second name. But the owner applied it at Liverpool Football Club. It didn't work. Eventually, Liverpool had big success again, different way. But quite interesting, this idea. I suppose in a way, you could argue Nottingham Forest football team had a slightly different, similar approach. Brian Clough back in the late 70s would look at like the qualities of a player in other teams that maybe weren't getting the rub of the green, but looked at the qualities and thought, how can I improve on that? How can I use that and put them with the right players? And that worked for Notts Forest. Different thing. That was just Clough's instinct. But with this, they use mathematics. They look at the stats. And they find that the numbers, so I think the numbers don't tell the whole truth and they don't lie. And numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole truth, I would say. And they get players that people wouldn't normally expect to be successful. I think, anyway, baseball fans and stuff would know more about that. Next one's a lovely coming-of-age drama. Again, it's more of a coming-of-age drama. I'm cheated here, but it's a film that's kind of been forgotten about a bit, I feel. You don't sort of hear much about it. It's very good. It's called Breaking Away. It's directed by Peter Yates, of Bullet fame. He got an Oscar nomination for it. It's got an actor called Dennis Christopher. Don't know what happened to him, but you got Dennis Quaid in it. And it's set in a kind of industrial town where you've got the kids from the kind of poorer school. And they want to go to they're in competition with the preppy kids who will go to the top university there and have the money to do that. And they have a cycling team, and they want this builds up to this cycling race at the end where basically the poorer kids want to beat them. I suppose if you were putting in British terms, the preppy kids would go to the private school and would be bound for this Russell Group University. The poorer kids would be at the comprehensive school. It'd be harder for them to get the grades or have the money to fund the kind of lifestyle at the university. So it's really good. It's got lots of funny scenes. It's got Jackie Earle Haley in it as well. It's funny, it's generally witty and heartwarming, and it's good. The cast's really good. It's before they were well known. And Dennis Christopher, I don't know what happened to him, but he's really good. It's got an exciting race at the end, and it's a good film. It's a really good film. Next up is number 8, a really recent film, the first motor racing one of many. Ford versus Ferrari. I thought this ticked all the boxes. Again, a story I wasn't aware of. I knew about Carroll Shelby, but I didn't know the story. This was called Le Mans 66 in England. I think they've kind of abandoned that now. I think people just call it Ford versus Ferrari. So basically, the Christian Bale character, I forget the name of the racing driver. It's a sad tale, but he's really good in it. Carroll Shelby, gets this maverick guy in to test and basically helped create the GT40 and this all-conquering Le Mans winning car. Really good, quite funny, got great cinematography, really good sound design. I think it shows what a good craftsman James Mangold's kind of become. He's not an auteur. He's not doing individual films, but, since Copland, he's kind of blown hot and cold, but recently he's gone on a really good hot streak with Logan and Ford versus Ferrari. I think the Western he made with Christian Bale, I forgot the title of him, Russell Crowe. That was good. He can dip into other genres, and obviously he's doing the next Indiana Jones film, and I think that's a good choice. Hopefully it'll be good. Okay, my number 7. This is a comedy. It's not my first comedy choice. There's another one in here. I think this is really good. I think it's got 3 great central performances, actually. There's Paul Walter Hauser, who's absolutely hilarious. Sebastian Stan is very good. And, of course, the amazing Margot Robbie, Margot Robbie's absolutely stunning, but she's also a stunning actress. She's brilliant. And this is, of course, I, Tonya. I remember this at the time, Tonya Harding, and the nobbling job they did on Arrival. But, again, what's behind this is how snobby skating is. She pulls off this move, I forget it what is, it's some double triple axel thing. And she, at the time, she was the first person to do it. She's from kind of white trash background, for want of a better expression. It's a bit unfair. And there's that there's always snobbery why is there so snobbery in sport? It should be egalitarian, but it's not, tennis, motor racing, golf, they all have money, cost a lot of money to go into, and horse related stuff. There's only football really, maybe rugby, but baseball I'm guessing, but basketball as well, of course. But it's really, really funny film, really well acted. Directed by a guy called Craig Gillespie. He does a really good job. And it was one of those films that just, they got it just right, and she got an Oscar nomination. She probably should have won, quite rightly. Really a funny film, but again, it's about the social structures of sport is the main thing, to my mind. Tonya Harding's brilliant, but she hasn't got the right background personality, and that's not something the ice skating people feel that they can't or don't want to sell that, but they're kind of forced to because she's so good. Anyway, number 6 choice. This is my second motor racing choice, and it's Rush. Obviously, I'm a big motor racing fan, so not the band. This is a Chris Hemsworth, Daniel, and I forgot his name. Great. He plays Niki Lauda. Sorry. I shouldn't do this. I'm supposed to know all this stuff. But Ron Howard directs this, and it's weird. Ron Howard had a really kind of lean spell for a long time where he didn't have to he did the Mel Gibson film Ransom. He didn't make anything good to me, and I thought, Beautiful Man was shit, really boring. But then he made the Richard Nixon film, Frost Nixon, which I thought was very good. And then this film did okay in America. It made about $100 million worldwide. Quite a hard sell for them, but really good, about the battle for the championship in 1976 between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. What made this so thrilling was the two different characters, their two approaches. Hunt, very flamboyant, devil-may-care. Lauda, very sort of test the car, very analytical, bullish, not as easy a character. And then of course he had this terrible accident, he had to come back. Ferrari didn't really treat him that well, Niki Lauda. And then you got the thrilling climax where he really didn't know if Hunt was going to win it. In the end, he only had to finish third, but he had a flat tire. It was all pouring rain, lots of drama. But what gets by, and this I think is Daniel Bruhl, there you go, is as good as Chris Hemsworth is, and it's his best non-4 film. Daniel Bruhl's exceptional as Niki Lauda. If you know what Niki Lauda, if you've seen interviews with him, he gets all the rhythms and the personality of Niki Lauda in his speech and everything. But more so, you come away really liking and loving Niki Lauda as a person. He's uncompromising thing. Special effects really good. Any kind of CGI carpets are really well done. Cinematography's great. Period detail. Just really well made film. Excellent. Number 5 is The Wrestler. Sorry. Oh, God. Number 5 is The Wrestler, Daniel Aronofsky. Mickey Rourke's comeback film, and then he complained about Iron Man and went back again. There's no helping some people. Rourke's bloody brilliant in this, and if he hadn't been such a knob in Hollywood, he would have and should have and could have won the Oscar, but he didn't. I think his performance makes this film. It's weird, wrestling is a sport because, physically the guys have to be top, but obviously it's all kind of set, it's all kind of staged, but they have to kind of stage it in such a way that they don't get hurt properly. I love this film. Again, it's kind of like Rocky but wrestling. Really good, really good pacing, good performances. It's a good soundtrack, good references to hair metal, which I liked. And Rourke's just, he's just off the scale. It's one of the best performances of the century so far. Along with Anthony Hopkins in The Father, and there's a few stand out, and I really do think Mickey Rourke's performance in The Wrestler stands out. And Aronofsky, interesting sort of career. He's a very strange director, but he does some loads of heart on this. Love it. My number 4 choice, I'm going to be honest, I've not seen this in years, but whenever I saw it when I was younger, I thought it was great. And it's Slapshot. So this is George Roy Hill, coming off the back of Butch and Sundance and Sting. Huge hits, teaming up with Paul Newman again. But the film, I always thought it was a flop. I looked it up, it wasn't a flop, it did quite well, but it got mixed reviews. But it's a very funny film. Basically, there's a declining town. But Newman comes in to coach the ice hockey team, and they decide on dirty tactics and being brutal, and that kind of gets their profile up. Newman's really good. He gives a really funny, light, sort of cynical, light comic performance. And Newman's never good at broad comedy, but he could do that kind of style. You've got these amazing twins with what we call national health glasses, thick rim glasses, who are extra violent, are really funny. It's just a really good film. And yeah, it's probably kind of maybe it's a bit ahead of its time, you can imagine a remake of it in a Rust Belt town or something, and that's often a thing of the sporting film, is, you've got a town or something that's really dependent on its sport. That's the one thing it's got, is its team, and that's quite a common theme, and then this uses that. but in a very funny way. As I just mentioned, a film I neglected to put in and mention before is The Longest Yard and Mean Machine, the Burt Reynolds film, but I've already put that in my prison films. Although that's about sport, it's really a prison film, and the sport's used to kind of, and there's Escape to Victory as well, which is a football film, but is it a prison war escape film? Escape to Victory is one of those stupid, brilliant shit films that everyone has to see. Okay, number 3. This I kind of nearly put this at the top, but I thought no, because I don't like his direction at the best of times, but it's bloody good, and it's one of the best sport films of recent times. It's been around a while now. It's 1999. It's Any Given Sunday. So I'm not into American football. I don't like American football. I still don't like American football. I love Any Given Sunday. It's got a great performance by Al Pacino. One of Cameron Diaz's best straight performances. Jamie Foxx. Tony D'Amato! Pacino plays this great coach. He's got to motivate his team. He's got to manage the egos. He's got to manage the big signing fees, the salaries, the lifestyle, the bullshit. It's a very much, he's got a modern manager's coach's job on his hands. It's not just about getting the set plays right. It's getting everything right off the field so it can be right on. But Pacino, every time he does a film, they'll put a speech in. And his speeches were starting to turn up a bit too often by this point. But his speech in this is brilliant, and there's a bit in it where it still relates. I still relate it, or I use it as inspiration. When things are going hard, he says you've got to fight for every inch of the turf, referring to, the pitch. And I think that's a metaphor for life. It's difficult, work's difficult, things are difficult, but you have to fight for your bit, every inch of that turf, to get where you want to be or get through something. So, really good film. I think Oliver Stone spoils it with thunder and lightning and those flashy things he does. But if you take all out of the way, it's one of the best modern sports films. Number 2, okay, now this really was very nearly top, but someone else's number 1. Not much to say about this. Is Rocky. Not only probably the most successful sports film of all time, the most successful sports franchise, but so much better than all the sequels. Great performance from Stallone, almost channeling Pacino, De Niro, more so that Italian American heritage. John G. Alveston did a really good job of the direction. Just simple, really good. Great score by Bill Conti, Talia Shire, Burt Young, Burgess Meredith. Excellent supporting cast, capturing the blue collar grittiness of Philadelphia. And great scenes like when he runs up the steps, and he doesn't win at the end. He loses, but he goes the distance, and he gets self-respect and achieves something. This film's about the taking part in sport. It's trying to build character. It's not all about the winning. Great film. Obviously, you got the Karate Kid, which was another one which nearly made the cut on this. John G. Alveston did that. It's a bit cheesy, a bit 80s. Obviously, I love Cobra Kai. Slightly different. It's more about school bullying, but I think Rocky's every inch sports film. So my number 1 choice is Grand Prix, the great John Frankenheimer Grand Prix film about the Formula 1 World Championship. What do I love about this? It's got great music, the cinematography is incredible, the editing, sound design's brilliant, the way they put the cameras on the car, and there would be remote control, and they'd spin round the camera, so to show the road, spin the camera around it, show the actual actor in the car, So it's one of those films that really took advantage of new camera technology to get, if you think about Top Gun Maverick now, what they've done to get the actors in the plane, what they've done is the actors in the plane, it looks like they're flying it, but the real pilot's in the front of the CGI them out. But, it's kind of started the idea of this, how do I get the actual actor in this? I think what's interesting about this is McQueen nearly got the drop on this with a motor racing film, and it didn't happen. So later on, McQueen made Le Mans, and 69 Newman made Winning, and they're both proper motor racing nuts. They're synonymous with loving cars. Newman had his own, he had his own motor racing team. I'm trying to think of the name, what they call it, and I've bloody forgotten. Anyway, but neither of those films is... Winning's okay, 6 out of 10. Le Mans, there's just no plot. It's got really nice photography, and McQueen looks cool. But it's weird, James Garner was into motor racing, but he came through. He signed up for the Frankenheimer thing with Yves Montand, Brian, what's-his-face, Bedford, Jessica Walton-Son. The cast is good. Yeah, it is a bit soap opera-y. There is sometimes a lack of sort of real, real character development, but I just think it looks so good. It captures 60s motor racing perfectly, and the way you've got the real drivers in the meetings like Graham Hill, Jochen Rindt, it captures a time that, as the 70s went on, would pass, as more money came into it. It really was a kind of devil-may-care amateur going professional type thing then. But I love it. I've always loved it since I was a kid. The crashes are spectacular and amazing, even on Tom Monza crash. I think as well, those tracks are classic. When they go to the ring, when they go to Spa. Actually, do they go to the ring? Don't quote me though. They go to Spa and, it's raining and just really good. It really captures that era. So that's my number one sporting choice. So that is the sport film. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're not seeing those films, are worth checking out. And I'm sure there's some other ones I've forgotten. So cheers. Hopefully see you again soon. Remember to share and subscribe. Thank you very much.